Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of the Fat Boy mini bike build. Amazon came through a little bit sooner, so I did wind up getting the new torque converter, the driven gear, and here's the hub for it. Got a few just shaft collars, and I went and picked up a 1-inch rod for the axle. So I'm still waiting on my hub adapters for the golf cart rims. They should be here this week before the video comes out, so that'll be later on. I do believe I may have to do something different for brakes. I'm not 100% sure right off the hand. This did not come with a collar, and I have 2 more of these, but they don't work with that disc. And it's kind of a little disc, so I'll have to see what else I can find. So I was on a dollar auction site. I don't know if you guys have those where you're from, but it's just a group on Facebook where people list stuff for an auction. Everything starts at $1. I saw this on the auction and I thought that this was a smaller unit, and I saw the Honda motor. I'm like, that's what I want. I thought it was like a 6 horse. Well, I get there, thing's pretty big, and it's an 11 horse. Well, the 11 horse has a 1-inch shaft, same as this green motor I have. So I'm only in at like $40, which is pretty good for a Honda motor. I have started it. It will run. The gas tank is, you can't see it. The gas tank is just full of crap. I'm gonna take the gas tank off and clean it out. Have to relocate the muffler and probably the air cleaner, because it's going to be a little bit tight fit on that bike, but I'm going to make it work. It all kind of worked out in the end. I think this kind of fits the Fat Boy motif a little better, and more power is always good. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get this motor off and get it up on the bench. I'm going to make sure that torque converter fits on there. I have heard these plates don't fit on the Hondas, but I'll figure something out. I do have a 3D printer, so if I have to build something with this bolt pattern that I can put on there to mark out and drill holes, I'll do that. But I think this is going to fit. I did get the pump with it. It was just laying on there, but I'm not interested in the pump. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the cart, but I think there's a few possibilities. And worst case scenario, it's some pretty heavy duty square tubing, but I don't think I'm going to go that far with this. It's probably got a use. We'll just have to figure that out. So all right, I'm going to get that motor pulled off of there, get the bench cleared out, and we'll take a look a little bit further. Well, as you can see, the motor's off. It's only 4 bolts, really easy. There's no cables or anything connecting this to the frame of the pressure washer. Everything's set via levers and such over here. So I'll probably have to do some figuring on the carburetor, see what I need to do to hook up a throttle. Obviously the torque converter bolted right up. Those are the bolts that were already in the motor. There's no problem. There's absolutely no issue. And yeah, this is the way it's got to be. This will be on the right hand side of the bike, given this is the way the motor rotates. So right now I pulled the key out, and the end of this shaft is a little dinged up, so I got to get some sandpaper or a file, whichever I can find, and clean this keyway up so I can get the rest of the torque converter mocked up on there. Okay, torque converter's on. It looks pretty well lined up. There's no instructions with this, and I've never done a torque converter, so I might be doing this completely wrong. but I think I'll figure it out. I think the shaft is a little longer. It's supposed to go in here to hold this bell on, and it doesn't fit super well. And then the other problem I have is the kit came with 4 bolts, which I don't need, but it came with, looks like 2 or 3 bolts. It's supposed to go into the shaft to hold that on, but they're all too small. So that's not very good. And I don't think you can fit much bigger of a bolt in here. So, I mean, worst case scenario, I can drill this out. I don't really want to get to that point, but if I have to do that, I have to do that. So I need to find a bolt that'll fit in there so I can get that bolted on. This nut here is not tight. It just hand threads off. So I got to figure out how tight that's supposed to be. Yeah, what else I got to do? A whole bunch of stuff. But I think for now, I'm not going to worry so much about this. I'll just find a bolt that fits, and I'll deal with that black piece later. I'm going to take this muffler off first, and then I'm going to get the tank off. I forgot to mention, I'm pretty sure, because of that awesome cap, I think this thing's about half full of water. So I'm sure that's just been kind of going down into the carburetor. So I'll have to pull the carb off. I could probably get a kit cheap enough, and it probably ought to be done anyways. I have all the stuff to change the oil, which really isn't much. And yeah, that's about as far as I'm gonna go with the motor. Okay, I got the motor disassembled down where I wanted it. Gas tank's off, muffler's off. Neither came apart real hard. Pulled the carburetor off. It's down there. Take a look at that in a second. Yeah, so this is like a governor, and use this lever to just kind of set where you want the thing to run. I'm not using that. I always have a throttle cable hooked up to here, and the main issue right now is this thing is horrible. It stinks. There's literally goo in it. Like, I can barely move this. I think you get the picture. And it's full of nasty water, whatever. So I got to take that apart a bit. So here's what I drained out of the gas tank. So that's really good for the carburetor and motor. It's pretty much primarily water. And it stinks too. But it's out of there. Okay, I got it in there. I had to take a whole bunch of stuff off of here. Now, I'm sure you can see there's a bit of a problem. One of the problems is this exhaust. It runs right into the frame. I need to move the motor forward probably 2 inches, and it needs to come this way because this has to be flush with the outside of the frame. So I think probably the easiest way to do this is just going to be cut this off up here and cut it off down there. Okay, here's what I came up with. This used to be the piece that went from here up to here. Cut it off, like I said. So I cut this back, and then I'm going to put that in here so it's underneath the motor, and then I'll have this will come out that way. So I got to clean this up. It's not level. It's really annoying. So then I'll weld this on here, and I will come up from here to here on the outside of the motor here, and that should give me plenty of room. I think I'll leave the other side alone. Yeah, it's gonna look a little wonky, but you know, it is what it is. It ain't supposed to be pretty, it's supposed to be fun. Let me get some stuff prepped and get a few more things kind of figured out and mocked up, and then we'll kind of bring it back and we'll see what's going on. Yeah, that was a lot of cutting and welding. Not fun. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but my welder is acting up. The display isn't changing, and I don't think I'm able to change the voltage. So I'm kind of just welding everything at whatever I had it set at last when it was working. And that works pretty good for this stuff, but it'll burn through anything thinner very easily. But I'm working around it. So I got the plate cut out like I mentioned. I have all this stuff welded in, and I welded a bar from here to the other side, and it's a little bit thinner metal, but it should work okay. It's not super duper structural, just kind of something to hold the plate up. I did get my bearings in today. I'm having trouble getting them to go onto the shaft, so I don't know if that shaft I got is just a little oversized or what. But none of the stuff I ordered is fitting on it. So I gotta figure out what I can do for that. Okay, I fooled around with that shaft for 10 minutes or so, and it will not fit in the bearings, whatever I do. It does fit in the hubs I got, but that doesn't do me a heck of a lot of good without the bearings. So I gotta kind of scramble here and find something locally. I gotta get something going. Yeah, I've been waiting and waiting. I'm like really stuck without having the shaft. I can't get the wheels mounted. Can't really make the front forks, etc. So that's kind of limiting me on what I can get done. So for tonight, what I'm gonna do is, these are a little bit too large to fit down inside the recess here. So I'm going to mount up that shaft in my vise, and I'll spin this on that shaft, and because I don't have a lathe, if I had a lathe, you know, I would certainly chuck it up in a lathe and, you know, make short work of this. But you know, you got to do what you got to do with what you got. Okay, I got one of these done. It takes a while, but yeah, you can see how I got this thing set up on the shaft. These are just shaft collars I got. They are actually for the mini bike, but they'll work in this. So yeah, this one fits just perfectly. I got it just close enough. So now I got to start the process of doing this one. All right, I finally got these done. I went ahead and threw the lug nuts on. That'll just kind of keep them where they need to be. Tomorrow I will go get some hardware to mount this gear onto the shaft adapter. I'm also going to go try finding a 1-inch shaft with a 1/4-inch keyway in it, and if I can get that done, we should be good to go, at least getting this thing upright. So I think that's probably going to knock out this video, guys. I really appreciate all the likes and subscriptions I've had on the last video. It really kind of makes me feel good. Definitely appreciate the support. So yeah, if you found any of this interesting, maybe a little helpful or not, consider subscribing. Give the video a like. I mean, it doesn't really cost you nothing. It really helps out the channel, and it kind of shows me if you like what I'm doing here. So all right, well, we'll see you on the next go around.